Alright, y'all, I'm here for another video. So today I am going to be reviewing The Housewife and The Hustler, which is an ABC like little mini primetime news little situation. Okay, little story. Okay, so I had no idea that all of this was going on. I do not pay attention to The Housewives, honestly and truly, really, like, outside of the show, because it kills the show for me, like, when I watch it, because then, like, certain things be revealed and I don't want to know. I want it to be part of the storyline. Also, I just don't keep up with people like that. I don't care enough to. Now, I did know that Erika was getting a divorce, so, like, unless there's something big that, like, you can't really go without seeing type of thing happens, then, you know, I really had no idea. So we're gonna go through what was said, what was alleged, and what I think. So when we first open, and we're gonna be here for quite some time, so I'm gonna try to see if I can, like, I don't want to rush through this, but I might have to, because there's a lot of information. I have a lot of notes, so let's get to it. So like I said, so excuse me if it feels like I'm rushing, but I just have to get all of this out. So what I want to say, one of the downsides of this documentary, whatever the fuck you want to call a story, to me, is that y'all didn't really have credible people talking. The only credible people that y'all had to talk is the actual victims themselves. All of the other people that y'all had in there, to me, just made it much more messier and made me not take the story as seriously. Y'all really had Danielle. Trash ass Danielle from the Real Housewives of New Jersey, if y'all don't know, who's not even on there this season no more. Trash ass Danielle. You want me to sit up here and hear anything that she got to say? She didn't even really bring anything. You got a comedian on here talking. What the fuck does a comedian have to do with this whole situation? Like, I love Sunny Hostin. Lord knows I do, but I don't understand. Well, I kind of do, because Sunny is a lawyer, so maybe all right, fine. But yeah, but all of these other, like, ancillary people, like, that don't really matter to me. I didn't really get that. You didn't get anybody to me that was, like, really in their life. You get what I'm saying? That's the only thing to me that, like, so I was more so amazed by the actual story, because I didn't know anything about the story than what everybody else really had to say, other than, like, the alleged victims. You know what I mean? So let's get to it. So again, so before we even get to, like, the you know, the title of everything, you know, they start off, like I said, with Danielle's thirsty ass talking about how she only met Erika once or twice. So then why the fuck are you even speaking on her name? Don't like that. But, you know, they start off with, like I said, talking about Erika and her being very fraudulent. And so this is what they're saying. They are accusing them of faking a divorce. Erika and Tom of faking a divorce to hide the money from families of the different victims that we'll go through. Okay, Tom is accused of embezzlement, and he took money from settlements to pretty much fund and maintain him and Erika's lifestyle. That is what he's being accused of. You know, they talk about how, you know, Erika, we all know how Erika has her little glam squad, how she pays $40,000 a month for them. And, you know, all of this is being accused from Tom's clients. So these are the clients that Tom had, not some other random ass people. One woman says in the beginning that she's out of $135,000. She got a $135,000 settlement. She saw absolutely nothing. They got voicemails. I'm like, child. And a woman said that she is legally owed $12 million from Tom. And those are the two stories and a few other ones that we're going to get into that they touch on. In September of 2020, they do a deposition with Tom. They show a little bit of the clips of that. And in the beginning, what we see, which we'll talk about later, is that Tom says out of his own mouth, he said at one point in time, he had between $50 to $80 million in cash. And it's all gone. How do you lose $50 to $80 million? You don't just... Where'd it go? Where'd the fuck go? Questions that we have, okay? So, like I said, it's pretty much being alleged that that Tom was diverting money from his stuff into Erika's businesses. So, All of this is said, and boom, the intro, okay? So let's just go through let's go through the important things, because I have everything written down, but some of this is not important. So of course, ABC shows a quick interview, that they did with Erika, pretty much trying to show how she was very into flaunting her wealth, which obviously that's the whole point, okay? Then they go into Tom's background. They talk about how Tom is an icon in LA law, how he's been famous for law before most people was even alive. Now they say the case that really broke him was the Brockovich case, which they actually did a movie on as well, which he was able to win $333 million from PG&E, which was the biggest settlement of all time. At the time, it was one of the biggest ones. So because of that settlement, of course, he starts to get more business. So that's pretty much his claim to fame. They talk about Erika, how she was born in 1971. We all kind of know Erika's story if you watch The Real Housewife of Beverly Hills, because she's kind of told you, she moved, I think, to New York or somewhere. Yeah, she was in New Jersey, worked in a strip club for a little bit, moved to LA, became a waitress or something like that, I believe, and then that's how she ended up meeting Tom. They said her and Tom got married really fast and there was no prenup. Now, I don't remember if I knew that there was no prenup. I probably did, but I don't know if I knew for sure. You better fucking work, bitch. Work. I mean, he ain't worth shit now, but bitch, you better fucking work. You better work, sis, okay? So anyway, then we get into people who had worked there talking about the lifestyle of working for Tom, how they have lavish parties once a year. They have a huge annual conference in Vegas. Sometimes they go to, I don't know, some fancy ass restaurant in LA. I guess that matters. And so just how it's a very, very, very lavish lifestyle, how he has a whole lot of power. If you want to be a judge and be appointed to a bench, you need to go through Tom. If you trying to be a governor or something, or any type of political thing, you need to go to Tom. Now that makes sense to me, because when you have that type of money and you're a white man, of course, that's the type of power that you will, period. Because the majority of these politicians move off of charity donations, which they kind of showed one of the people that was running, I think, on Watch What Happens Live, and how he said, Tom is a generous, donator. And that's how they control all these politicians, is through donations. So in the beginning, Erika wanted to be a pop star. So Tom was financing, that dream of hers. However, there was no return on his investment as far as her doing her pop star thing. So right before he was about to just be like, I'm not doing this anymore, I'm not putting no more money into it, that's when she got on The Real Housewife of Beverly Hills. Now, if y'all been watching The Real House of Beverly Hills from the beginning, or going back on Hulu and watched it from the beginning like I did, you'll know that there is definitely a bigger difference between how Erika was when she first came on this show to Erika maybe the last couple of seasons. She's a whole lot more refined in the way that she carries herself and her wealth when she first came on the show. But because it's The Real Housewives, the whole point is to show the lavish upper echelon, how those people live. That's literally the entire point of the Real Housewives franchise. That's the entire point. So when she first came on, she was very much so, being over the top with how she, carries her wealth, or whatever the case may be. So they talk about that a little bit. So then they also talk about, the downsides of being a housewife. We all know about the whole Teresa thing, and how Jen Shaw just asked for something crazy. I forgot what she asked her judge for, but it was something insane. She had an insane request, and the judge said, if you don't get the fuck out of my face. But yeah, Jen Shaw to Luann, and then let's not even, how many divorces has there been from the Real Housewives franchise as a whole? So we all know that at least everybody some way somehow is about to get in trouble with the law on the Real Housewives. That's just how it go. That's just normally how the fuck it go, okay? Now, one of the guys that was there was he didn't like how people were questioning Tom's age. Why the fuck not? I'm confused. Why not? It's obvious that if you see a very, very, very older man with a very, 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 very young woman, and especially when that man is very, very rich, of course we all looking okay, we got it. We see what's going on here. We get it. We got it. Is that not alarming to you? I don't even want to say alarming, but Of course, that's going to give people pause. No shit, it's going to give people pause. I don't understand why that was a problem for him. One of the guys, the lawyer, said that I guess people in his firm was really more so upset with him because they said you're flaunting the wealth pretty much that they get because they sued the quote unquote man. And what did he say? He said, oh, that's what he said. He said people are upset with them flaunting their wealth because they sue the man. So you don't want to actually become the man. You know what I mean? Like their whole thing is that they fight for the little guy. That's what they talked about as far as Tom's law firm, is that yes, he, represented like high profile people, but he also really more so represented the little people, the people who got fucked over by the system or got fucked over by the, big companies, and he's coming through and helping them. So by flaunting your wealth the way that you do, you are no longer like, it doesn't come off like you're championing for the little guy. It's like you are the big bad guy that we're supposed to be going after. So I can understand that. And they talk about, how they feel like people just feel like in general it's tacky. Well, this is what I want to say about that. All of this shit's tacky. What do you mean? The entire premise of the Real Housewives is tacky. The majority of the reason why people get on Instagram is tacky. The majority of the reason why people be posting shit on Facebook as far as pictures and stuff is tacky. It's all tacky at the end of the day to talk about how much something is and flaunt your wealth and stuff like that. But that's what these shows are. They are famous for a reason. Before the Real Housewives was a thing, there was something called MTV Cribs, where all celebrities did was walk around and show you how big and nice they damn house is. It's what wealthy people do, and it's what, as regular common people, is what we want to see, because it's low key what we want to aspire to in a way. So that just comes with the fucking territory as far as I'm concerned. It's all tacky. So then we meet Joe Joe Ramirez, Mr. Joe, and I can't say their family's last name, so I apologize. But Joe, on September 9th of 2010, a gas line leaked and pretty much, I guess, blew up the house that he was in, the house that him and his girlfriend was in at the time. Now, Joe was able to thankfully find his way out, but however, his girlfriend did not. And not only that, but, he had burns on like 90% of his body. So from the time that happened in 2010, even now, the rest of his life, he's always going to need care. So Kathy, who is his mama, and her best friend Kim, which is like his auntie, okay, they pretty much got together, and Kim, who, like I said, is Kathy's best friend, said, you want to know what? You deal with the emotional side, I'm going to deal with everything else. So Kathy, who was also a legal assistant at the time, had looked over one of the people that Kathy wanted to use as an attorney, which was Mr. Tom, okay? Tom, wait, was it Tom Giardi? Yeah, Tom Giardi, okay? Mr. Tom, all right? And so, I guess after looking into it, Kim said, you want to know what? I think we should go with this guy. He's won a lot of money in the past. He's always taken down the big guy. So cool. So they said when they first went to go meet Tom, everything seemed cool. He seemed very nice, and they believed, pretty much everything he had to say. He said when they first met him, he gave them his resume and references on him, like as far as articles and things like that, which, I know they're annoyed by that, but like, that's him trying to prove his worth, which obviously it ain't shit, but that's a good thing to do. So she said a year and a half later, Tom ends up reaching out to Kim, right, after they originally started the case, and Kim became a legal consultant for him for the next 7 years, okay? So they come to find out, as far as the gas, line situation, that it was a faulty pipe, and at this point, once they found out, there was really they were really getting no info like leading up to this or after this, like honestly about like what was really going on. They just kind of were hearing, I guess, like the main points, like, okay, they said it was this, okay, they said it was that, okay, they said it was that, but they felt like they weren't really being kept in a loop with everything else in the middle. But they said, you want to know what? Okay, fine. So they said Tom went in, Tom got a settlement number. Now I think the interviewer must have asked everybody, were they happy? Everybody said that they were happy with the number that they got. They was cool with it. They felt like it could work. So then they break down in the news situation, whatever the hell it is. They break down how it works when somebody gets a settlement. So once somebody gets a settlement, that money goes to a trust account, which is separate from the lawyer and their accounts. Now, once the settlement money is put into the trust account, the legal fees and everything that you need to pay the lawyer comes out, and then the rest of that money is to be put into the account for the client. It's to go to the client, period. Okay, so if you as the lawyer dip into that trust account and take anything other than what your lawyer fee is, you can be disbarred from that, because of course that's fucking stealing. Okay, so Joe and his family were told that it would take about 3 months for them to get the money. Now, this is where Joe and his family fucked up, and they need to take accountability. They need to take accountability 2 different ways on this, okay? Now, when the money came, Tom asked them if they wanted him to put their money into an investment account that had 6% interest on it. So not just give them their money, but he had this investment portfolio or whatever that they could stick their money into, and they would get 6% interest on the money. The answer would have been a hell no. Hell no. Now, in the interview, they said, well, he's a millionaire. He makes a lot of money. Now, I will say, I'm going to be fair. They did pull out paperwork that showed that it said in the letter that there would be no loss at all. There would be no loss from them doing this. And I understand that, but at the same time, if I'm you guys, I'm looking at it even funny style of, why are you trying to tell me to do with my money? You have your money, right? Why are you so concerned about what I'm doing with mine? It doesn't really matter. You shouldn't really be giving me advice for what I should do with my settlement money, because that's not what I hired you for. I didn't hire you to tell me what I should do with my settlement money. I hired you to get the settlement money. You did. You got your piece of the pie. So I would look at that sideways in the first place. But okay, whatever. Like I said, I guess because it said on the actual paperwork that there would be no loss, that they said, all right, cool. They would do it. So they settled in 2013. Now, they said they never got any bank statements, and Joe said that he was getting payments, but it wasn't all the time. So sometimes he would get his payments on time. Sometimes it wouldn't come for 3 days, and sometimes it wouldn't come for a couple of weeks. And he would always call Tom, and Tom will always be bouncing back and forth about why this didn't happen and why that didn't happen. Sorry, I'm looking at the time. I'm doing good. So then we have Josie Hernandez, who is another former client of his. Now, in 2010, there was an implant put in her, okay? And then she started to not feel too well. So then she went back to the doctor, and the doctor was like, all right, well, let's do another one. Put another one in her. Things got really, really, really bad. She got really sick. So she ends up going and trying to sue the manufacturer of the implant. She said one of her friends had referred her to Tom. Okay, so she was like, all right, cool, I'm gonna go to Tom. Now, in 2014, they settled for $135,000. That's what I was talking about in the beginning. Okay, but she said during her time there of working with Mr. Tom, she said my case went through a lot of different hands. There was a lot of different lawyers coming and going and coming and going and coming and going. She said by 2019, she was completely fed up. It's like, there's no way in 2014 I get my settlement. In 2019, I'm still waiting for you to pay me out. That makes absolutely no freaking sense. She said when hold on, I'm sorry, because I have to get to the point. Okay, no, we'll talk about that a little bit later. So, of course, at this point in time, she's fed up just trying to contact him. And this is all in 2019 that she's pretty much fed up. So Sunny did say, she was like, I can understand how a victim watching Real Housewives of Beverly Hills is like, being upset about somebody flaunting their wealth. And I would definitely feel some type of way, because if like the millions of dollars, that's one thing, right? But if it's only $135,000 that we were settled out on, which means I'm probably gonna get like maybe $100,000. $100,000 is sitting on Erika's watch, her neck, her earrings, her shoes. Her damn doorbell is probably $100,000. When they go on their little girlfriend trip, she probably spends at least $100,000, if not more than that. Like if you include her, if you include everything, like paying for her glam squad to come and all of that. So I can definitely understand somebody feeling some type of way about that. So then we go back to Joe, and Joe talks about how he's had to have 30 surgeries so far, and he still has at least 5 to 6 more to go. Now, he says whenever he would talk to Tom, that Tom will always tell him that Justice Pinelli, who is a former Supreme Justice and is now a private judge, and who was pretty much presiding over and helping with the case, that happened with PG&E. Tom will always say that it's Justice Pinelli is the reason why he can't give out the money. Like, they played one voicemail of Tom pretty much saying like, he just doesn't like for kids so young to get so much money. You know what I mean? He's seen how it can ruin people's lives. So, I just can't give you the money. He says it was always Justice Pinelli, it's because he said, I can't give it to you. So ABC contacted Justice Pinelli's people, and their representative said that, his representative said that they were unaware of Mr. Giardi's actions, and quote, once the settlement agreement was signed, Justice Pinelli's involvement ended, unquote. And then he also said he had no involvement at all on how the payments were distributed. So pretty much saying that man lying on me. And that doesn't sound right, because I think that's what is going on now, which is conservatorship, which is, I learned a lot because of the Britney Spears situation. The judge can't tell him how much, like, he can distribute out. I don't think so. Like, I think that's a different judge that can be like, okay, this is how much is in the trust, this is how much you can get, this is how much you can't get. But I don't think in this situation, the judge, unless there's like some other things going on, he can say that anyway. So then we get back to Kim, right? Because we're talking about, now remember, Kim is Joe's auntie / his mama's best friend, okay? So Kim's son's Paul dies, okay? He dies in an accident, okay? And after that, they really weren't focused on the case necessarily, because of what was going on with her son. So Kim go ahead and she files a wrongful death lawsuit, okay? Now, according to Kim, people weren't taking her case because they didn't want to step on Tom's toes. So you want to know what they did? This is the second time they got to take accountability. They went back to Tom to help with that case. That makes absolutely no sense. And my condolences go out to her family and everything. But she's going to say on interview, what other choice did we have? You cannot tell me. And I'm going to tell you why, because it's going to come up later. You can't tell me that there was not one lawyer in California that would have been willing to take your case. You cannot say that. Maybe the ones that you specifically wanted, but you cannot tell me that there's not one lawyer, not one that would have took your case. I find that hard to believe. So they end up going there or whatever, right? Like, I don't get that, because if your sister didn't even get her money for her child, what makes you think that you're going to get it now? It's not going to happen. I would have never, okay? So they tell us, Joe pretty much tells us that the last time he got a payment was 2017. He hasn't got shit since, okay? Now, this part I do empathize with, Kim talks about, Kim talks about, who are we going to call on Tom? We can't call the state board, because he's friends with them. Can't call the governor because he's friends with them. Like, once you have a certain amount of money, your hands is in everything. You can't call the police, can't call that person, because he's friends with all of these people. So even if somebody doesn't necessarily take his side, somebody's going to tip him off and let him know so that he can try to get his shit in order before shit hits the fan. Because that's what happens when you have that much money. You got that much influence, you can keep your hands in everything. So they talk about how, prior to this, like, there's been rumors about Tom since 20 years ago about Tom not paying his co-counselors and different clients, but it just never really picked up a whole lot of steam. So I'm sorry, y'all. I'm trying to hurry up because I got like 5 minutes left. So, they talk about how Erika has always responded to any time anything has come up about Tom in the past, and it's always, which I feel like she's doing the wifey thing, which is pretty much like no comment. So there was rumors going around in Beverly Hills for a while about Tom being broke, you know what I mean? And so, we go back to Josie. Okay, now Josie found out that Tom left her a message saying that he had never received the money from the people for the settlement. Now, he left her that message in August of 2020. The company sent her information showing that they gave him that money in May of 2020. So like she said, you had her money. So then election day comes, and as we all know, Erika files for divorce, okay? And there had been rumors about them possibly getting a divorce anyway because of a lot of the financial, woes pretty much that were going on. Okay? So a little bit, and also there was a really big thing rumor going on about the situation that these lenders were really much so publicly coming from Tom because he had took out millions of dollars in loans from them and he wasn't paying it back. Okay? So once Kim and I can't think of the mama's name right now. Once Kim and them find out about the lenders, then they leave Tom and go and find another attorney. You could have been found another attorney, but okay, whatever. Tom, they take Tom to court. Tom agrees to pay $12 million. He gives them the one payment that they initially set for, which was $1 million. They were supposed to get another payment of $2 million. Never got anything, still hasn't got anything yet. Okay? They went back and made it so that he legally, it was an order that he had to give it to them. But they also made him do a deposition. Now, in his deposition, like I said, he talked about how at one point in time he had $80 to $50 million in cash. And that's now gone. How he had $50 million worth of stock. That is now gone. So this is what now opens the door to Erika's financials, okay? So at this point, Erika has been subpoenaed twice, okay, about the couple assets, but she has yet to, sit down or anything like that. In December of 2020, a lawyer pays, I'm going to have to make this into 2 different videos. I can already tell. In December of 2020, a lawyer sues Tom for not paying him or his clients for the 737 Indonesia plane crash, if y'all remember that happened a little while ago, and how they were chasing him down and they couldn't get their money, okay? So this lawyer goes on someone's podcast and pretty much says, I know for a fact that he was stealing from clients, and lenders to pretty much furnish him. I said, to furnish him and his wife's lavish ass lifestyle, okay? So we meet this young man named, I think his name is Bias, who mama had passed away on an airplane crash, and how he has been contacting Mr. Tom over and over and over and over again and still has got nothing. Not a cash payment, not a nothing, okay? Not a nothing. Hold on, y'all. Okay, yeah, so he pretty much has been chasing Tom down, has got absolutely nothing, okay? So at this point in time, Tom is taken to court, okay? And the judge, Thomas Durant, not only held Tom in contempt, but he froze all of his bank accounts, all of the law firm bank accounts, okay? And then he also referred the case to the feds. I said, oh, Tom, Erika, this is not looking good. This is giving very Teresa and Joe. Y'all about to go. When like Sonny said, when something gets referred to the feds, first of all, they're 9 times out of 10 going to take it. But when the feds come for you, they come for you. They're not going to be bullshitting around. She really needs to hold on to her wig because it's about to get real shaky, okay? So Erika is brought up in 2 of the cases against Tom, okay? One of the lenders say that allegedly Tom gave Erika $20 million, okay? So underneath both of their business names. So under Girardi Geese, which is the name, Keese, which is the name of his firm, gave EJ Global LLC, which is Erika Jane's company, gave her $20 million. Child. child. They said he was taking money allegedly and investing it into, you know, her business. And of course, people mostly think that that money that he's low-key, quote unquote, investing into her is the client's money. No shade. This is allegedly. I believe that part of that is absolutely their money. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, where did all of his money go? I don't know. I don't know. Because I know Erika makes her own money. Now, of course, she wasn't making nearly as much as he was. But I don't know. I don't know where his money could have went. I just don't know. So at this point, Tom is under conservatorship from his brother. And they are going to pretty much go with that claim that, you know, he is mentally not fit. You know, when he was going through all of this, he has dementia or Alzheimer's. Now, one of the guys on there, the lawyers, was like, you know, I've seen Tom talk recently. He didn't seem like he had dementia to me. And I'm like, well, maybe not to you, but the few times I've seen Tom on screen, Tom always looks like he barely there. That's just in my opinion. I'm not trying to make an excuse or anything like that. But like, Tom is old. So yeah, it's not too off, okay? So they pretty much, the court forced him into bankruptcy. They liquidating all his assets to pay back. They took the mansion, bitch. They took the office buildings. And at this point, the state's bar filed the suit against him. And he can no longer freaking practice law in the state of California. So now the trustees of the bankruptcy, they now looking into Erika. Now, Erika has said that all of the money that she has been given has been a gift, okay? And she has not been charged with anything yet. Erika, you need to hold on to your wig and hold on tight, bitch. So people are feeling like the reason why she's divorcing him is because she wants to separate herself from that, which I understand. Before my phone cut off, do I think that Erika knew? I don't think that she knew the inner workings of how they explained all of this. Did she probably know something was afoot, something was amiss? Probably. But I don't think she probably knew all of this was going on. That's my opinion. I'll talk about a little bit more on my Real Housewife of Beverly Hills in the beginning, a little bit, tad bit. So look out for that video. I'm out, y'all. Bye.